Hi, I'm Jason Willoughby from Reach the City Ministries, and this is the second of 5 short video clips that are encouragement for tired, stressed, depressed leaders during this pandemic. What a terrible season. It just goes on and on and on. We're finding ourselves ground down, wore out, and so we're needing some grace. And so the purpose of these video clips is to do just that, to pour it on thick, to give pastors, leaders, elders, people in leadership positions in God's church a healthy dose of encouraging grace when we need it the most. Stay tuned for the next installment. Last time we talked about that false expectation to always be up and the pressure we put on ourselves to be that upbeat, cheerleading person in a season where there's not much to cheer about. And so we're tired, and in fact, we're down in the dumps, we're lacking in vitality, so we can't be that cheerleader. And so we sought grace in the midst of all that, being freed from that. Well, this time, we're going to do something even more daring. We're going to try to reconcile ourselves to our weaknesses. Yes, the dirty word, the W word, weakness. Because we are weak. And so what does God have to give us in a place of weakness where we're not strong enough? We're not able to be that strong person that others rely on. We're just one weak person in a sea of weak people. And how do we do ministry as such a person as that? Of course, those of you who know your Bibles instantly will go to that 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10. Power is perfected in weakness. We know the theology. We get it. But we kind of skip over that terrible thorn in the flesh, perpetual weakness, agony that God didn't remove from Paul, wouldn't take it away, left him perpetually weak. And that's the setup that Paul had in order to receive that powerful grace in and through him as a weak person. So, yes, we know the theology, but how do we access that in this pandemic exhaustion, in this pandemic sense of failure and condemnation we're under because we can't be that person and do those institutional things we wish we could? So let's take a little deeper dive. Want to be really honest with you that in this season where my own ministry has been completely shut down, let me just say I've not been a super happy person about that. I have tried all kinds of strategies and shifts and things to try to get around this shutdown because my ministry depends on access to small groups of people inside a particular room for a long, long time. Terrible for COVID-19, great for ministry. So here I am, stuck. No way around these restrictions here on the West Coast of the United States. And so I'm left scratching my head and looking up, and more importantly, there was something inside of me that was dragging me down. It took me a while of prayer and seeking the Lord. I realized this: I felt abandoned. Not abandoned so much by God, but abandoned to this circumstance that would never change. So I felt literally on my own and stuck in this never-ending pandemic, restrictive ministry shutdown, and it was causing me, it was getting to me, it was dragging me down emotionally. And finally I realized that it's based on a lie, and that is this. The lie is that God is up there, detached, unconcerned. The truth is, in Jesus, He's with me in my sorrow, in my losses, in this pandemic, in ministry shutdown. We're doing it together. And my choice is, will I be intimate with Him as we go through this together, or will I try to claw my way out and work my way back to a place where I've got it? Obviously, we know the Bible answer, and I've been discovering the riches of intimacy with Christ. So my own tale of weakness is, I'm weak towards abandonment, and this pandemic has pressed all my buttons, but through prayer and seeking the Lord, He's met me in my weakness very powerfully. And He can do that for you. So this part 2 really is a simple message. It's this: pastors, leaders, elders, ministry heads, organizational leaders and board members, every last one of us is a weak human being. We all have particular weaknesses in our own makeup that God will never remove. He's left them there. Or we have debilitating, agonizing circumstances He doesn't take away. All of us have that battle. And we can either spend our days wearing ourselves out, protesting and fighting and trying to control it, or we can be reconciled to weakness and just say, God, I am weak. There's something about admitting that, just saying that out loud. And here's the grace. And I don't need to be strong for God to love me or for God to use me. And you don't have to be that for Him to love you or use you. In fact, He prefers to use the weak. He especially uses us in our weakness. That way He gets all the glory. So in this pandemic season of weakness in the church, this is actually a season in your own life as a leader, in vulnerability, in owning and openly speaking of weakness, and then pointing to the power of God to help lead your people out of self-sufficiency and trying to be strong on their own to a place of marvelous, freeing, re-energizing dependency and the provisions and resources and love of God and grace of God in us through the power of the Spirit. And in that, we can then be a community, whatever restrictions, whatever limitations, nothing on earth can possibly stop a community so marked by the grace of God in their weakness and littleness and utter need. And so that's the second encouragement. I hope it blesses you and fills your heart with great joy.